If you ask most people today what their net worth is and how is it allocated, most people would not even know, if they're homeowners, that they're probably worth close to $1 million, because most people wouldn't necessarily consider the asset of this house as a part of their net worth. They'll probably go look at their bank account and tell you what they're worth. And most people, especially in Florida with our housing boom and the way housing prices are, they're probably close to being valued at as a millionaire. They wouldn't know it. But if you look at their allocations, most of them are millionaires and their largest asset is their home. And that's not a good place to be. It's a good place to have real estate, but it's not necessarily a good place to be, because the acceleration of your wealth is tied to the comps in your neighborhood.
So welcome everybody. Welcome to MD Wealth Fortress presents The Classroom. Today we have a very special guest. We didn't have to twist anybody's arm. We didn't have to wrangle anybody from another country. We needed to understand exactly what is mergers and acquisitions. And today we have a 30-year veteran in the field. I mean, that's extremely difficult to get. Now, for those of us who are in this space, we know how difficult it is to find the right resources. And as we find the right resources, we're bringing these resources directly to you. Today, we have Alonzo Williams, and it was such a pleasure to have met him. It was interesting connecting with him, but at the same token, when I got to know him even further, there's no doubt that everybody in this space is thinking on the same wavelength, and we fit together like a piece of Lego. So we wanted to bring him on to the classroom so that others could ask him questions and just simply get involved. And we want to find out exactly what is it that he does, how he does it, and why is it so important for us to partner with somebody in this space like that for our extension of our business. So without further ado, Alonzo Williams, welcome to the classroom, my brother.
Dr. Dames, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciated the lunch we had last week. Got to know you a little bit. And the one thing that I saw, probably clearer than you think, is I saw your heart. And this is something that you are not only engaging people with, but you've got a passion and you got a fire for this. And I got a funny feeling you wake up about 4 or 5 in the morning every day ready to take on the world one more day.
We do.
So thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak with your group. And guys, I just want to have some fun today. One of the things that I do is I'm an adjunct professor as well. And the one thing I hate doing is lecturing. I really like to have conversations. So I'm going to bring up a slide deck and kind of just to kind of guide our conversation so you can hear where I'm coming from. But by all means, at any moment in time, please stop me, ask a question. Of course, we'll have Q&A time at the end. But like I said, I'd like this to be two-way, not necessarily synchronous, just going from me to you. Okay. So the name of my company is Cynerge. And this is just some little facts about me. I'm a Florida boy, even though I was an Army brat for just a little bit of time, raised in Jacksonville, went to the University of Florida. If you cut me, I bleed orange and blue all over you. And a very non-apologetic Gator. Okay. Lived in Tampa for a little bit. Been in Orlando since 1993. I've been able to be fortunate enough to lead a couple of organizations. Was originally in technology for the most part, and also led a fractional spot with a mergers and acquisitions firm called Urgent Flex, and now I'm running my company Cynerge. I've had an opportunity to sit on a few boards. I'm currently on a board called FFVA, a mutual workman's comp insurance company. As well as Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Central Florida as well. One of the boards that I'm very passionate about right now that I'm sitting on is called Center for Micro Entrepreneurial Training, CMET. It's a nonprofit, and the genesis of that group is to make sure that folks who are in a startup space understand the things that they actually need to do to be successful in business. It's an accelerator program that gets people from the beginning when they're really trying to figure out if this business thing is actually for them. And I've actually led a couple of mastermind groups. I led a group down at the Citrus Club here in Orlando for about 10 years. And that was one of the most fun things I've done because you get a chance to talk to CEOs on a daily basis. And it's a very cathartic experience because you guys know sitting in the CEO seat, you're up at the top, and it's a lonely place to be sometimes. A lonely place to be. So I want to talk about this thing called a freedom point. This is kind of where I want to start because I think once we wrap this all up, you guys will understand where I'm going. Everybody's got a number, whatever that number is, and it's an internal number. It's not a number where it has to be broadcast or whatever it is, but it's a number that you hit that at the end of the day, it's a freedom number for you, meaning you can do what you want, when you want, how you want, where you want, how much of it you want, because of the lifestyle you have and the lifestyle you want to have, the lifestyle you've decided you want. For some people, that freedom number could be literally $2,000 a month. For some people, that freedom number is $10 million. Some, it's got to be $100 million. It's not a right or wrong answer. It's your number. And if you've never compiled what that number looks like, I would suggest that you do it because I think it provides a lot of clarity on where you want to go and what you want to do in your business practices. So I'm a certified value builder consultant, and this is one of the things that we do when we talk to people who are considering business ownership. If you ask most people today, what their net worth is, and how is it allocated, most people would not even know if they're homeowners that they're probably worth close to $1 million. Because most people wouldn't necessarily consider the asset of this house as a part of their net worth. They'll probably go look at their bank account and tell you what they're worth, okay? But in all actuality, you just add up your assets and you minus your liabilities, and that kind of gives you your total number, okay? And most people, especially in Florida, with our housing boom and the way housing prices are, they're probably close to being valued at as a millionaire. They wouldn't know it. But if you look at their allocations, most of them are millionaires, and their largest asset is their home. And so their value is going to rise and fall based on the comps in their neighborhood. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's not a good place to be. It's a good place to have real estate, but it's not necessarily a good place to be because the acceleration of your wealth is tied to the comps in your neighborhood. But if you happen to be a business owner, your house can be worth the same thing, but boy, you have some control over the value of your company based on the decisions you make. And it's a lot easier to go from 1 million to 5 million if you've got an asset that you can grow like a business. You can make strategic decisions that actually increase the value of your company very, very well. Now, most people, when they think of their net worth, it's tied up in their house and their IRA and their 401k and those types of things. But if you've got a company that you can say, hey, look, I can do some things to strategically grow this with multiple increases. I can do some things. Man, I can probably get to this freedom number a little bit faster. So what I would like for you guys to do, and it's like I said, this is internal, but if you got a piece of paper and a pen or something you can just jot down on, what do you think your freedom number is? Now, there's a calculation that we actually go through to determine what this number is based on a 33-year retirement, based on a nest egg that you have, based on the withdrawals at about a 3 to 4% rate to, make sure that you hedge against inflation and all that kind of stuff. To get to a number that you say, when it's all said and done, you total it up. Wow, this is the number. For some people, it's 5 million. For some people, it's 10. For some people, it's 25 or 30, depending on how you want to live.
My number not on your chart.
One more time.
My number not on your chart.
So, but my suggestion is that you know what this number is, okay?
Yes.
And it's like I said, it's not some hard and fast rule that if you don't get there before, X number of days, your life is, is ruined. but you kind of need to have a sense of what that number is.
Uh-huh.
I'm reiterating this because I want you guys to actually do it. Okay. And if you've got a problem, I've got a thing I can send you that'll walk you through it. So you can come up with the number and be crystal clear in your mind. Okay. Now, because of this, I decided to get into entrepreneurism a long time ago. Okay. Now, we're talking early 90s. As a matter of fact, the first phase in entrepreneurship was the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. Okay. So it's been a while. All right. Now, but that first journey, I'm in a fraternity. I got a sister sorority, a member of our sister sorority. She started a business. We're going to sell paraphernalia, Greek paraphernalia. We're going to go to shows and all across the country and do this. And lo and behold, when I got involved with her, we went to a show in Ohio. First show was great. 3 days, in a day and a half, we're sold out of all of our product. And I'm saying to myself, we're going to make so much money. And on the way back, put the money in the bank that Monday morning and go to pick some money up on Wednesday to get inventory. And lo and behold, all of our money's gone. She had a relationship with his financial planner who was not licensed. He was pretty surly and took all of our money. And my entrepreneur dreams crashed and burned right there at that moment. I ran to corporate. I ran to a safe job, and it was part of the genesis of my career. Because the good part about that safe job was I worked there for 11 and a half years, a company called Hughes Supply, headquartered here in Orlando, who had 122 locations. But by the time I left, we had 450 locations. And so I spent literally 11 and a half years on the operational and the IT side of mergers and acquisition. We bought companies, we rolled them up, we integrated them, we did their financials, we did their technology, we did their personnel, we did everything. And so I got a very good understanding of what it's like from the functional side, the operational side of what happens when a company is bought and integrated into your world. In 2005, I had my second phase with entrepreneurship because I had an opportunity to leave our company and sell our services that we were doing back to that company. We ran an idea up the chain of command. They loved what we were going to do, and they funded us. They gave us $1.1 million worth of projects for our working capital. They helped bridge a relationship between us and the technology giant Intuit, who was the publisher of the software we were using. They also, Intuit gave us access to the 700 users in the users group. They also looked at us and said, hey, well, you guys can backfill our capacity when we outsell ourselves. The beauty of this was the first relationship in entrepreneurship was ripe for failure. The second opportunity was ripe for success. The third one is we became partners with SAP software. Many of you guys might have heard of SAP. It's the largest business management software company in the world. And we were going to be selling their product to small and mid-sized companies. The product was called SAP Business One. We became partners with them in 2007. In 2010, I bought that division for my partners. And I ran that until 2021. The beautiful thing about that was I got a 5-year seller note with 1% interest. I had 14 customers. I had 45 days worth of cash. I had 10 contract consultants. I had a certified SAP consultant on staff. I had 2 developers in India. I had a pipeline that was already ready for future business. The bottom line is my next 2 phases in opportunity in entrepreneurship was ripe for success. And the beautiful thing is I ran that company until 2021 when I got acquired. And it was a beautiful day. There's nothing like somebody telling you that your business that you've built is good enough to actually buy. So I've been able to go through the mergers and acquisition space unknowingly on the functional side, on the operational side. Then I went through the piece of being able to be launched and sell the service back to this corporation while acquiring companies from the sales side. And many of the companies that we acquired on the sales side from the IT function were also buying companies that we were part of doing integrations with and for. And then I got to do it one more time and actually become one of the companies that got purchased. So this has been part of my world since 1993. Okay. Now, This thing called entrepreneurship, there's a path to it. But in today's world, most people look at the path to entrepreneurship like them and their group are going to be the new PayPal mafia, and they're going to go to Starbucks and they're going to sit around a table and they're going to create something on their machine. And all of a sudden they got this brand new app. And lo and behold, there's going to be some private equity company that's going to write them a check for $50 million. Most people, when they think of startups, the mindset is, I got to start it from scratch. Well, here's the reality when it comes to startups. Most people who play in the startup space can't explain the vision of what they want to accomplish well enough for people to buy in. Most people are not Walt Disney, where they can see something and say, I can create this out the ground and get a whole bunch of people to buy into it. Most people don't have that skill set. Most don't have the ability to put a marketing plan together that's going to acquire sufficient market share. They just don't have it. It's not a skill set most people have. Or they don't have the management skill to build an infrastructure for something that's going to last over a period of time. These are some of the few realities when it comes to startup. But truth be told, the thing that I believe that's the hardest part is what I call the runway. They don't have enough time or they don't have enough money. Just imagine being an entrepreneur and you're working your regular job. And then when you're done, you come home and you do your side hustle. And you do it long enough until you created a cash flow that can overtake what you were doing in your regular job. And then you can quit your regular job. Most people think that that's what's going to be successful. But after about 7 or 8 months, especially if you're married, you're going to come home one day and your wife's going to have a frying pan waiting for you because you hadn't been home. You've come home and you've gone right up to your room and you're doing your thing, and she hadn't seen you in 7 months. And she's got a nice cast iron frying pan that my grandmother used to use waiting for you. Or you say, I'm going to burn the boats and I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to jump in both feet. And then lo and behold, you come home 7 months later and the same wife has got the same frying pan because now you don't have any money to pay the mortgage because this thing isn't cash flowing fast enough to actually take over all the bills. The bottom line is most people who get into a startup relationship, it doesn't last. The reason is several. Well, Small Business Administration, the government has done some studies. And if 10 businesses start up today, this time next year, 8 of them are going to be out of business. And in 2 years from today, 9 of them are going to be out of business. It's the reason that a bank would rather make a loan to a kid going to college to do chimpanzee studies than make a loan to a company that's about to start up. Because at least if the kid graduates from college, there's a chance he's going to get a job in some other field and pay this loan off in 10 years. Whereas opposed to this startup company, if it goes out of business, there's no recourse. Banks understand those statistics. One of the biggest reasons is a lot of people who are in startup companies have never really vetted their products or services well enough to know if people actually even want them. One of the statistics is about 40% of companies are selling products that nobody even wants. And that's why people go out of business. Now, here's the funny thing though. For companies that are acquired, it's a little bit different. The SBA has recognized that about 98.5% of their 7A loans have been paid back. Now, I don't have a bunch of teenagers on this call, so most of you guys have got a tooth long enough to have dealt with the government before. But tell me the last time the government's done anything at a 98.5% success rate.
Been a while.
You can't.
Been a while.
You really can't.
Right.
And the reason is because how these loans are structured. The loans are structured to the point where if the business is not currently cash flowing enough to pay back the debt, as well as pay you a salary, then they're just not going to make the loan. So you're not just buying a business, you're buying a good cash flowing business. Okay. And so because of that understanding, using that knowledge and applying it to this new phenomenon that we have, it's called the silver tsunami. Now, before I touch on that, this is how accurate I know this is. I'm an economics major, and I remember being back in college one of our professors took us through a timeline of the baby boomers and the things that were popular in the country with the baby booming age. I mean, it went from, Mattel and how, what the value of the toy companies were back in the 50s. It went all the way through the 70s and the clothing lines and things people were wearing. And whatever the baby boomers were, that was the most popular thing in the country. And you could almost invest in those type of companies because the population mix of people using them was so large that it really affected the market. Okay. Now, my mom and my stepfather and my dad, they're all boomers, born in 44 and born in 46, and 82 and 80 are their ages. So they were on the first cusp of the boomers. Well, these folks are retiring and they're retiring in droves. Well, the funny thing about it is they all, not all, but a lot of them own companies. And it's been valued at and I'm on the conservative side, that there's upwards of $1 trillion worth of equity tied up in the companies that these guys represent. And as they get ready to retire, those companies have got to go somewhere. Okay. Now, the sad reality is, here's what this normal conversation looks like. You got a guy who's, he's put in the grind and he's opened up a firm and he's got 30, 40 years into it. And, out of his union with his wife, they produced 4 kids. And the beauty of it, they sent their kids to college. They did the American dream. They want their kids to have a better life than they got. Well, what happened is those kids have got their life of their own. They're doing their thing and they're happy as all outdoors. But the thing in common is they don't have time to run dad's company. And now he's trying to figure out, what in the world do I do? I was thinking this was going to be a family business for the next X number of years, but it's not always the case. And so dad's got to retire. He's not as young as springtime anymore. Mm-hmm. So the beauty of it is I got a ton of equity in here and I've got a freedom point I'm chasing too as dad. All right. And so when I take all that into consideration, my background with acquisitions, after I got acquired, I wanted to get into the equity space, and I ended up meeting 2 young guys who got me involved on the business side of mergers and acquisitions. And so my fractional time ended with those gentlemen last summer, and I said, I wanted to go further. And so I started a group called Business Builders. And our whole goal here is to guide seasoned professionals into mergers and acquisitions to actually acquire a business. Okay. We use a lot of things like peer-to-peer learning and hands-on interactive environments to make sure that our team that goes to our cohort knows exactly what's going on and they're actually prepared. One of our core values that I really harp on a lot is client mission focus. I want to do everything we can to make sure we're chasing the mission of our client. Because if I don't know you, I can't chase your mission. And if I can't chase your mission, I serve no purpose for you. The goal is to make sure that you are where you want to be. And that's why we have our cohort, so we get a chance to understand that. Now, in this whole thing of M&A and the entrepreneurship through acquisition, there's 3 hurdles that we got to cross. Okay. And they're all equally important. You got deal flow, you got operators, and you got capital. So I just want to talk a little bit about those things for a bit. When it comes to deal flow, we've made a strategic decision that there's about 5 verticals that we want to chase. And we do this because of them being recession resistant. In the case of healthcare, it's really recession proof. But we know that folks who are acquiring a company, especially for the first time, we want to make sure they make good deals. We don't want to get them in something that's very highly volatile or anything like that. We want to make sure that they're in practices that are going to be around for a while. When we look at childcare, as long as mommy's working, somebody's got to take care of the kids. I look back and I say to myself, my wife was a physical therapist at the time, and currently she's a professor over at UCF. Excuse me, give me 1 second here. Mm-hmm. She's a professor at UCF, and we put our kids in daycare, and this was 22 years ago. It was $200 a week and $185 for the second one. And I said to myself, when they were done, I could have bought this place for the amount of money I spent on childcare. And I'm sure it costs a whole lot more now than it did 20 years ago. When it comes to, aftermarket auto, have you priced the price of a brand new car? I mean, people are driving their cars a lot longer. So mechanic shops and oil changes and those things are never going to go out of style. When it comes to healthcare, there's a beautiful law in the state of Florida called CPON, the corporate practice of medicine. Means you don't necessarily have to be a doctor to own a medical practice. I found that out in our early M&A stages of what we're doing. Home services. As long as people have homes, and AI is a great thing, but AI is not fixing leaky pipes. AI is not cutting your yard. So there's a reason that we're targeting these specific companies, professional services. There's all kind of tax prep and accounting companies and so on and so forth that are out there that are ripe for acquisition. Okay. So those are the verticals that we're targeting. Not that we won't do something as a one-off, but those are the five we directly target. Capital. There's been a very, very misunderstood, how do I say this? There's a lot of talk out there about not being able to get capital. There was a time in our country that some people were denied access to capital, but that's rare now. And what I mean by that is, as long as you've got the deal, and as long as you've got the credit score, and as long as you've got access to a down payment, nobody's turning you away from the capital it's going to take to get access to something. And when we talk about 401k plans, HELOCs, IRAs, there's money you can use that you have access to as a part of your down payment. And banks are incentivized to loan money. If they don't loan money, they're not making money. Okay? All we got to do is to make sure we're bringing the right deals and the right opportunities to folks. And then there's the operator piece. And so this might be you, this might not be you, but this is definitely at least somebody you know. Okay? This is a person who's sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm at corporate, I'm busting my hump. I'm getting a 4% raise this year. I got a 4% raise last year. I'm getting a 4% raise the year after that. And this is the world I'm in. I'm so sick and tired of corporate speak. I'm so sick and tired of going to the break room for cake. And I'm just tired of this corporate world. Okay. I've got dreams and passions and things that I want to do. And I feel like I'm handcuffed in this corporation I'm in. And it's not the corporation's fault. That's what they do. Okay.
Yeah.
But you got
Mr.
to ask
Williams,
yourself.
on
Yes, sir.
this slide here, you
Hmm.
have learn ETA, find deals, raise capital, then acquire and grow.
Hmm.
How do you find the deals?
So, as a part of the deal flow, we've got access to brokers, number one, for on-market opportunities. Okay.
Okay.
There's all kind of deal boards that are out there, BizQuest, Biz by Sell, Deal Stream. There's a whole bunch of those things out there. There's also folks who have created AI tools for aggregating deals, scraping them, and they've got their own off-market people employed to go find deals that nobody else knows about. And then if you've got good relationships with brokers, the brokers know all the on-market stuff because it's listed inside their MLS. But they also talk to people whose deals are not necessarily ready to be on market. But if you got a good relationship with them, you can say, hey, look, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. If you run across something before it gets published, let me know. Okay. And then on top of that, sometimes you got to pick up the phone and you got to put a list together and you got to start calling to say, hey, look, I've got somebody who's interested. Have you ever thought about? Have you ever considered? Is this in your plans? What's your exit plan? And you make those relationships. There's also other people like CEPAs, certified exit planners, that you talk to because they're helping people get ready to plan their exit. There's wealth advisors because a lot of folks they deal with own companies. And so there's a whole lot of folks that you get involved with to put your deal flow together.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
But
I also
as far
see
as the
you.
slide is concerned, one
Oh,
more
you have
time.
raising capital here as well too.
Yeah. And so if you go back to this piece right here, excuse me,
Hmm.
part of this structure of this is in your 7A loan, and and I'll put another slide up a little bit later to show a breakdown of it. But part of this is if I'm going to go to the bank and get a loan that's backed by the SBA, part of it is a structure that says 10% of it needs to be a down payment coming from you. If you structure the deal properly, you can actually get in with 5% down. And by doing that, it helps you, number one, with your capital, your cash flow, your working capital when you start. But you still have to come to the table with something.
Hmm.
And so if you don't have that money, then everybody didn't have 100 grand sitting in their nightstand. You know what I mean? And so you can actually go raise that capital. Now you got to give equity for it, but you can go raise the capital. One of the deals we worked on, we actually went and raised the down payment. We had to give that capital away. It's part of and the bank has to understand what it looks like because they become part of the capital stack. And so those are just some of the nuances of things that you have to go through. But all those things are possible.
Now,
Okay.
what's a capital stack for those who don't understand what a capital stack is?
So it's cool because I was in the tech world for so long, I had to understand what a tech stack looked like too. So just imagine making a sandwich. Okay.
Hmm.
And part of that sandwich stack is you got the bread, you got the lettuce, you got the mayo on the sandwich, you got the meat, you got the cheese, you got all the things that make up what the sandwich is. Each one of those things is a piece of the sandwich. So in your capital stack of what you're bringing to the table, you might have one person who might have donated the money to you for the equity piece. Well, he's a part of the capital table, the capital stack, the folks who brought you the money. You might have three or four people you raised the money from. They're part of your capital stack. Okay. You might have gone out to an organization who did crowdfunding for your capital stack. You might not know all their names, but you understand that organization. And whoever's a part of that capital table, that capital stack, when it comes time for tax time, every one of those guys gets a K1. So those are just some of the nuances that you understand what that looks like. Okay.
Excellent, excellent.
All right. So, like I said, this here, some of you guys have been sick and tired of being sick and tired. You probably know somebody who's in this space. Okay. And our job is to find these folks and to make sure they understand there's a better way. Okay. Now, there's some criteria we put in for these folks, you know. And so when it comes to, what does this operator, what does their persona look like? There's some things that we are really picky about. Number one, what kind of experience of leadership do they have? I don't care if it's 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years. I don't care if it's corporate. I don't care if it's military. They could have even been a solopreneur. They've actually stepped out on faith and decided to do something. It's just not turning cash fast enough for them. Okay. But this person knows how to spell P&L. They know what a balance sheet looks like. And they've got some semblance of some domain experience that they've got in their past. Okay. They're a teacher who wants to go get childcare centers. They're a cop who wants to go buy a security business. They've got some domain experience in what they're doing. But the two things that I really look at probably more than anything else is only if you see on the psychographics, it's the motivations. Why are they doing this in the first place? Do they actually want to change the trajectory of generational wealth in their family? And do they want some control, some semblance of control over their professional destiny? Now, for those of us who understand faith, we understand that, we make plans and God laughs. But at the same time, we have to put plans in place because we need some direction where we're going. God still, we still have to measure twice and cut once. So, as God says, we've got to count the cost. So we still are supposed to put plans in place. Okay. Now, the reason that motivation piece is so important is because when it's all said and done, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. And if you don't have those triggers that are willing to get you up at 4 o'clock in the morning, no matter how good or how bad yesterday could have been, then you're just going to give up. And entrepreneurs don't do that. Okay, so you need to have those that motivation inside you, something driving you, something where the passion is. Okay, now, so what's our call to action? And I've cut this presentation short. Normally, this presentation can be anywhere between 90 minutes, but I want to make sure that we have a lot of Q&A time here. Okay, what's our call to action? Remember that thing I told you about early on about your freedom point? Okay. Did everybody write theirs down? Or at least some guesstimate of it?
Yep. 100 million.
All right. Anybody else want to volunteer their freedom point?
I'm going to match that. I'm raising mine. I'm going to match that.
Okay. All right. Joshua, Teddy, Camille, anybody else want to chime in what their freedom number is? And like I said, guys, remember, there's no right, there's no wrong. It's just yours. Okay.
The standard freedom number that you get from
3
every
million.
other, well, 20 million.
Okay.
There you go, Pastor Stuart. 20 mil.
All right.
I'm new to the game, so I could do a lot of things with 10 million.
All right. Now, they did a survey, and most answers came back at $10 million. And the reason that number came in was because a lot of people looked at that number one, as being reachable. And number two, most people felt like if they had 10 million and they had no debt, they were fine. There's a movie that came out a long time ago. Everybody remember John Goodman from The Dad on Roseanne? He was in a movie a while ago, and I'm going to be very careful with my French here. But somebody was asking him to do something, and he basically said, F you. And it was like, whoa. And he said, you need to make sure that you have FU money. And the guy was like, what is that? He said, it's money where you've got a 3,500 square foot house. You got a Japanese car that never breaks. You've got no debt. You've got your kids' college funded. And when anybody asks you to do something that you don't want to do, you say F you. And so what he was trying to get across was there's a number that you don't have to listen to anybody anymore.
Agreed.
And so ultimately, that's what your freedom number is. That number that you can say, financially, I don't have to do anything I don't want to do anymore. And I can go where I want to and do what I want to do and live the way I want to live. Now, it's not gluttony. It's not excess. It's just your number, whatever that number happens to be. Okay. So the call to action is to make sure you know what that number is. Okay. Now, for us, we have a cohort, and our cohort helps people who want to go and actually acquire companies go through the process of understanding what it looks like. Okay. Our cohort is an 8-week process that we say, okay, we're going to teach you these things. So when you start this search for this company, you're not off in la la land. You know exactly what this program, you know exactly what this process looks like, and you're ready for it. Okay. Now, what are the things that we're teaching you in the cohort? Okay. All right. Number one, some people actually say, I'm a little bit longer in the tooth. I got a little bit of salt and pepper hair up here. I don't necessarily know if I want to do the grind for an everyday business. Okay. But I wouldn't mind investing in somebody else doing the work. Okay. They go into our drop-in. All right. We've got materials out there for them to understand what's going on in this M&A space. And it's really fit for a guarantor. Okay. Then there's other folks who say, I'd love to get these materials, and I think I want to do it myself. They go into the vault. Okay. We've got about 3,000 videos inside this vault of people explaining this whole thing called entrepreneurship through acquisition. Okay. And then we have our ETA Launch Hub. This is where I jump into this space, because not only am I going to get access to the same things that the other two are going to get, but I've got somebody riding shotgun with me the entire time. Okay. So I'm going to get more information from the Launch Hub than I'm going to get from the other two, number one. And these are some of the things over to the right that you actually see that we're talking about and we're teaching. You know, how to dissect a deal is a very big deal because you don't want to make a bad deal on your first deal. Okay. Understanding actually how to have a conversation with a broker. You know, brokers get 50 calls a day about the same deal. And half the time, the folks that are calling them haven't even been, don't even have an approval letter from some type of bank to tell them they're worthy to buy it. And they're looking to get these deals turned as fast as possible. How to actually talk to a banker when it comes to structuring a loan and being creative in the finance and all that. We're walking with you if you're in the Launch Hub. Okay. When it comes to putting together a letter of intent, what things matter, what things don't matter, how do you structure it? How do you make sure you protect yourself? How do you go about the purchase agreement? What's the relationship of the purchase agreement to the letter of intent? We go through all these things with you step by step by step, and we are with you throughout the entire process. Okay. So this is a difference in our program. And this is a difference in the cohort. Okay. Now, this is just a sample of what it looks like, once you're actually in it, some of the sessions, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, once you've gone through the cohort, what's next? When you leave the cohort, you leave with this thing called a buy box. This is a thing that literally is targeted. You say, okay, now I got a targeted list of what I'm going to do when I'm actually going to go look for a company to buy. Once we do that, now there's execution. There's the outreach component. Mind you, you go through the Launch Hub. We're with you through the entire process. Okay. We help you find the opportunity. We participate in your business meetings with somebody who's actually looking to sell their company. The one thing that we know is sellers only sell to people that they kind of like and trust. Dealing with sellers is a different beast because a lot of these folks have their companies grafted in their bones like Wolverine. And when you're trying to buy their organization, it's almost like them giving you a child. And a lot of people don't understand that. And so it's a crazy relationship. When I was in corporate America, we bought a company in Texas. It was 37 locations. We bought it for like $32 million. This was in the 90s. The guy gets a check for $32 million and would not go home for 6 months. He came to the office every day. He had no job. He literally came and sat at a desk. He didn't even have his office anymore. He stole the coffee pot. He sabotaged a couple of things in the break room. He didn't know what to do with himself after he sold the company. And dealing with a seller is a lot different than people think. It's not like people selling their house because they're going to go move to another house. These people have invested their lives in these businesses in some cases. And we're there with you, walking you through this process.
What was the outcome? What was the outcome? What was the final outcome of that relationship?
Oh, the folks at corporate literally said, hey, you got to go. I mean, to the point they were going to call security on him.
Okay.
I mean, dude, you got to go home. I mean, I know you can only play so much golf. You can only eat so many bonbons sitting on the sofa watching Oprah, but you got to go because you're interfering with, this new company. So, and he's not the first. There's a lot of owners when they sell a company, they feel like they've died, because it was their life. And so you kind of have to understand and navigate through that when it comes to the negotiations and all that stuff. Okay. We make sure that you get a very good opinion of value of the company. Like I said, I'm a certified value builder consultant, and we have a tool to help us understand not only what the valuation of the company is, but if we do the right things to tune the company up, what the valuation can be if we do it right. Okay. We help you structure the letter of intent. And when it comes to lender selection, we use, there's some other people that are waiting to get in here.
Oh yeah. You're the host.
I didn't know that. My bad. I am so sorry.
Let me reclaim the host.
No, it's okay. It's me, and it was just my other computer. It's fine.
Okay, hold on.
I'm good. I knew I would get in eventually, so it's all right.
All right, there you go.
Okay. Are we still sharing the screen?
Yeah.
Okay,
You
I
should
didn't know
have
if you
the
guys
screen.
could still see.
No, I don't see it.
You don't see it? Let me give Mr. Williams back the host. Okay, there you go.
All right, let me know if you guys can see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And we help you go through the lender selection. Like I said, we've created relationships with several banks. Also have a couple bank brokers in our program as well. So making sure that you've got access to capital. Also understanding that some deals might not necessarily be SBA bankable. It might be an off-market deal whose books just aren't cleaned up enough yet for the SBA's SOPs to approve. Um, and we might even have to go a private credit route, to get a deal off the street because I can get the deal off the street and then go back and refinance it if necessary. So it's making sure that all those relationships are understood. Okay. And then there's a due diligence piece. And if you've never been through due diligence, it is not for the faint of heart because that's when you're walking into the organization and you're pulling back all the sheets. You're looking under all the rocks. You're opening doors to closets that people might have closed 20 years ago. You're finding out things about companies that sometimes it's shocking the company that you're finding it out because they didn't even know it existed. Okay. You're meeting with the resources. You're finding out who's doing work and who's not. Um, we looked at a deal one time and we had the owner, she wanted to sell us her AR. And this was a healthcare practice. She was in the PIP space. And she wanted to sell us $1.5 million worth of AR. And she wanted to sell it to us for $600,000. And we're like, whoa, if we collect all 600,000, we pay her off, but we got $900,000 more to go after the deal. To go after. That would pay for the deal for us. Well, we come to find out she had PIP stuff that was in litigation. And some of this AR was 4, 5, 6 years old. And we're like, wait a minute, are these cases closed or are they not closed? Come to find out, some of the cases had closed and her billing person just had done a terrible job of collecting the AR. Well, the case is closed. You think that money's available for them? No, it's not. All this was discovered in due diligence. We walked away from the deal because this person had done such a terrible job and they're still working there. Once we found out all this out, the girl quit. And so there are things that you discover as a part of your diligence process that you almost need a team to help you with. Okay.
Mhm.
And then at the end of the day, the goal is to make sure we get a good purchase agreement and we get your set of keys and close the deal. Okay. Now, this is kind of the process. Now, one of the things that we do that's a little bit different because there's folks out here that actually do this ETA stuff, and most of them are online telling you they can get you a business in 3 days and get you a business, in 30 days. Don't believe any of that garbage, okay? Because unless you have cash where you can just go stroke a check, you're never going to get cash that fast, okay? Number one. And number two, even if you could get cash that fast, you'll be making a bad decision by just buying something sight unseen. This isn't I'm buying a car. This isn't I'm buying an iPad. You're buying a business. And if you don't do your proper diligence in an acquisition of that company, you're setting yourself up for a disaster. Okay. Now, one of the ideologies that we teach that's a little bit different than most people is most people just want you to go buy a business and go nurture that business and make sure that it's running well. Well, we don't not want you to do that. But one of the differences in our ideology is if there's money out here for you to borrow, business debt is not a bad thing. I did Crown Financial Ministries as a youth in church. I love Dave Ramsey, you know, with living like somebody else today, not living like somebody else today, so you cannot live like somebody else tomorrow. Financial Peace University, I'm all down with that when it comes to personal debt. But on the business debt side, I'm more rich dad, poor dad. Okay. And One of the things that you take into account is the SBA will give you up to $5 million to do acquisitions. Okay. And so if you go buy a company for $1 million, all right, and let's say it's doing $333,000 worth of free cash flow, and they're selling it for 3 times that cash flow. That means they're selling it for $1 million. And so you go buy the company and you tune it up. You put a fresh coat of paint on it. You put some fresh social media on it. You hire a couple additional people. You put in a couple additional service lines. And now you've tuned that thing up and it's 5x in value now. It's worth $1.5 million. Well, if you're competent enough to do that one time, you're competent enough to do it 4 more times and borrow up to that 5 million. Because guess what? If you can do it 5 more times, now you've got something that you've integrated. We've got 5 companies, but we got 1 marketing person. We got 1 website. We got 1 bookkeeper. We got 1 CEO. We got 1, but we've integrated 5. Now we start getting to Einstein's, the power of multiples and all that stuff. Okay. And now you've got something that might be worth 7.5 million. Remember that freedom point number you guys gave me?
Mm-hmm.
If I can integrate businesses, I'm getting closer to getting there faster. So my company that I worked for in corporate, we were 122 locations when I started. When I left, we were 450 locations. And the only thing we opened up organically were distribution centers.
Mm-hmm.
When we bought that 37 locations in Texas, we bought it for market share because we also bought a 16 branch location out of San Antonio and a huge location down in Houston that was doing 100 million in revenue. We opened up a huge distribution center in Dallas. We bought the market share because we needed customers to send goods out of the distribution center. Half those locations we bought in Texas, we closed. We bought the market share. There's a bank in Florida called Sun Bank. Remember Sun Bank, guys? That became SunTrust, which is now Truist.
Mm-hmm.
Our CFO basically had an open checkbook with these guys. I think we probably did $1 billion worth of acquisitions. When we sold the company to Home Depot Supply, we sold it for $3.7 billion. We didn't buy $3.7 billion worth of acquisitions at all. Okay. And so my point is there's a power in the multiple and the synergies of when businesses are integrated. It's almost we buy a platform company and then we stack the rest of them on like Lego blocks. And then all of a sudden your multiple increases drastically. Okay. And so this is kind of the ideology that we teach, not just go buy a company and be happy with it. Go buy it and use that leverage to buy more and integrate them. Okay. So I want to introduce you to Paris and Lionel. I was a fractional CEO with this company called Urgent Flex. Paris on the left is in this picture. He's 26 years old. I met him when they were 25. Lionel in this picture is also 26 years old. Lionel on the right is from Jamaica. Paris is from Puerto Rico. They both live here in the U.S. And they both have their associate's degree. So they're not MBAs. They're not doctors. They both have their associate's degree from Valencia College at the time. But they very much wanted to get into the mergers and acquisition space. They had a couple of entrepreneur ventures they delved into, almost like the misadventures of Lionel in Paris for the most part. But they went to this mergers and acquisitions fellowship and they sat under some tutelage for literally 3.5 weeks. They made a significant investment to do it. You guys might have heard of a gentleman named Dan Pena.
Yep.
He's got a castle over in Scotland.
Yep. Yep.
And so one of Dan's contemporaries, one of the guys who sat under his tutelage,
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, guys, I got a phone ringing and forgive me. And they sat under his tutelage for a period of time. And lo and behold, there's a guy named Jason Paul Rogers over in the Tampa area.
Mm-hmm.
And he taught them This is the tools that you need to do this with. And they came back hot as firecrackers. And I met them in the summer of 2023. And they told me what they wanted to do. They asked me to be their fractional CEO because they needed some salt and pepper hair on their team for people to kind of take them serious.
6th of June.
Okay.
The what?
The hair product.
Awesome.
6th of June.
No.
You'll have to, you
Think it was
can
the
mute.
11th.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. And so they told me what they wanted to do. They told me what their plan was. And I said, man, I want to hang out with these two young guys. Let's go do this. And so they wanted to buy healthcare practice. Many of you guys might have heard of hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Yeah.
And they wanted to get into that space and ended up purchasing a hyperbaric oxygen therapy facility over in Melbourne, Florida. And this deal was about $3 million, and for the business, about $1.5 million for the real estate. And they pulled it off. And this was a celebration day. We went and talked to the banks. First bank we talked to told us, you guys sound like you got a good plan, but which one of you guys is the doctor? And we're all looking at our shoes and we're like, we'll figure it out. And they were like, nah, not on our dime, you won't. So Lionel on the right, in his, no holds barred mindset, picked up the phone and called the president of the American College of Hyperbaric Medicine, a guy named Dr. Tyler Sexton, who was from Mississippi, who was in Mississippi, but trying to figure out how to get back to Florida. This was a God ordained thing. And so lo and behold, Tyler comes, and Tyler's the chief medical officer of the team. We make the acquisition on September 6, 2024, as you can see here. And these guys' dream came true. But their dream doesn't stop there. Their goal is to get 100 of these locations at a $2.5 million valuation per location. That's $250 million. And because you've got a ton of insurance and Medicare and all that stuff involved, if a private equity company was to buy this thing, they'd be buying at about a 4 to 6x multiple. That's about $1 billion. Well, they just made their second acquisition up in Atlanta. And so these guys are well on their way to doing what they set out to do. And I could not be more proud of them. And they're 27 years old right now. So I say this, and I put this up front because I say, look, this is about a vision thing and about where you want to go. Knowing what your number is, knowing where you want to go, knowing how you want to get there. That's literally 50% of this. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, these are members of our current cohort, just so you can put some faces to some names. You see the guy named Julius, Julius and his wife. She's a nurse practitioner. They acquired a concierge medical practice. And Julius was a healthcare administrator, and right now they're as happy as could be right now. Then I've got a doctor, and he's a neurosurgeon, and we're right now in underwriting and buying an imaging center. I've got Gerard here. Gerard's a former cop. He is really up in the air right now between an aftermarket auto and a security business. We've got a couple of letter of intents that are out there right now. I've got Olivier. Olivier's down in the South in the Broward County area. He owns a restoration company like the Serve Pro types, but he's not a franchise. He's looking to add on to his platform. I've got Randolph. Randolph's an IT guy. He actually just wrote a great book on AI. He's looking to do a consolidation and roll up within some financial services. I've got Nika. Nika's a teacher. She's looking to procure some child care centers, and she's going to want multiple. I've got Dominique. She's an attorney. She wants to do a side, something that's not necessarily in her domain, but she wants to do some HVAC facilities and have a person with some equity in it run them for her. Then I've got Ethan. Ethan was an actual intern of mine. He decided he wanted to join the cohort and go after the aftermarket auto space. And then I've got Jason, who's the newest member of the cohort. He's in education. He wants to buy some education services companies like the tutoring businesses and whatnot. Okay. And so the question is, who's next? So these are just some faces to some names. Okay. Now, I really want to go over this slide very well because I want to make sure you guys understand the economics of this structurally. This whole thing that we're doing called ETA, it really comes out of a thing called searchers, a search fund model. A lot of students were graduating from school and they're going back to Stanford or Harvard to get their MBA. And while they're there, they have been thinking about something. And that thing is, man, if I go back into the belly of the beast, it might be 10, 15 years before my name is Jamie Dimon or Griffin or Ackerman. It's going to be a long time before I own or I become the CEO. And a lot of private equity companies don't want to dip below $10 million. This is not, it's not enough, not enough squeeze, not enough juice in the squeeze. And so, but if you go search for the business, they might fund it because they don't have to do all that legwork. And so a lot of these young guys reach out to a private equity company and say, hey, look, I found a business for $6 million. I've done a due diligence. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. And by the time I graduate my MBA, I'd love to slide into that seat and run the company. And so they do a little bit of due diligence. They like the opportunity and they write the check and fund the business. They slide their CFO into it. And you are going to get about 20% equity in this business. Okay. Now, that's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just the thing. Okay. You hit your numbers and lo and behold, you get your vesting up. And I don't know, 6, 7 years later, they put a lot of debt on this business and they turn around and flip it and sell it. And you're 27, 28, 29 years old and you get a check for $3 million. You're not mad. You're not mad at all. Okay. Because you're going to turn around and do this all over again. And you're going to work in the world of being the CEO for these kind of acquisitions. I've already met 5 or 6 people who do this for a living. Okay. But now some of this, what I'm doing is passion for me because I really want to see a lot of minority communities, a lot of underserved communities actually be able to acquire equity because I think the game changes when you acquire equity. Okay. And so our model is a little bit different. We want you to be able to go through the SBA so you can personally guarantee the loan, because if you can guarantee the loan, you live with 80% of the equity. Okay. And remember, we're not wearing badges that we're business owners. We're wearing badges that say, I own a business and I'm going to treat it like an asset. If I walk around with the business owner badge, then I'm going to get full of pride every day that I own a company. But if I'm treating it like an asset, the goal is to grow the asset. Okay. And so with that said, you got 81% of this asset. You got 80% of the business, plus you have a board seat. And that board seat comes with another percent. We put a board together because we want to make sure that you don't do anything dumb with this personal guaranteed loan you got. Okay. And these are board members who they don't have to sign off and approve everything that you do, but you've got some counsel to be able to talk to. Okay. If we have a person who comes and provides you the equity injection to get into the business, they get a board seat. So they give you that 10% cash for your down payment. They also get a seat on the board. They've got 11% equity. We walk you through this entire process. We get a 5% stake plus a board seat. And you, as the operator, you bring your consigliere to the table. So you never feel like the board's ganging up on you. Okay. But that's how the equity is split. This is the equity table. This is the capital stack. This is the table. Okay. But the thing is, I don't want to own your equity forever. So in about 3 years, we basically take an exit. Okay. We recapitalize the company, whatever equity is, we're gone. And now you recapture that equity. The same with the equity investor who put money in. After 3 years, the goal is for them to be gone. And now you have 95% of your company. Okay. Now, we want to make this equity grow. Therefore, we stay with you for those first 3 years. And we're making sure that you've got sales resources, marketing resources. I don't know if you guys have heard of the book Traction, but we make sure that you're using EOS as an operating platform. Okay. And you're also participating in a Value Builder Mastermind group where you're talking to other CEOs, understanding that game of sitting in that seat and how hot it really is, but also being able to say, I've got the tools in place to make sure that I'm going to grow the equity in this business. Okay. And so we don't try to just help you get a set of keys. Our goal is to be with you from soup to nuts, from beginning to end. Okay. And so my hope and my goal is this is a picture that happens often, that you're celebrating the acquisition of an opportunity, you're selling the acquisition of maybe even selling something. But the bottom line is you're celebrating every single day that you can in your business. So that's me. That's who I am. This is my contact information. And so I want to thank you guys for allowing me to spend some time with you guys this morning. And I am here for any questions that you guys might have.
Man, this was extremely important to this group today, primarily because we are also entering mergers and acquisitions. Obviously, we're not going to do that without you, but at the end of the day, it's for this particular classroom, some of us have never have done something like this before. So the education and the hand holding is extremely valuable. Sure, we could come at money, but if you don't have the other components in order to follow through, then that could be a problem. So what do you say, Mr. Williams, as to what is the most important thing that we should have at the top of the stack in order for us to pay attention to in order to start the mergers and acquisition within your family office or within your holding companies or something along those lines?
So number one, with all decisions, you've got to make the decision to go. Okay. And because until you've made the decision to go, you're just going to stay right there. Devaughn, I used to, when I was selling SAP software, my target market was companies doing 5 to 50 million in revenue and about 5 to 50 users. And I'd get a phone call from a chief operating officer of a company because they're concerned about their systems. And I'd go on site, have my initial meeting, and I'd sit down and talk with him, and I'd talk with the owner, VP of sales, and of course, the director of IT. And we'd have this conversation, and I'd lay out to them, number one, guys, you got to trust me to tear your company apart and put it back together better than it was originally. And I understand the fear in that. Okay. But if you don't do anything, these problems that you're having, they're just going to get worse. The revenue leakage that you have, it ain't going anywhere. The expense leakage that you have, it's not going anywhere. And so most people would think when they recognize that I'm fighting against Microsoft or I'm fighting against Oracle or I'm fighting against Sage or whoever else is to get their business. What I found is 80% of the deals,
thousands recover from shoulder pain.
About 80% of the deals that I lost, I didn't lose to a competitor. About 80% of the deals I lost to the company not doing anything.
Wow.
I'd call back 2 years later. Hey, just following up. You guys no, we're still on the same system. And I'm like, what? So most of the deals I lost, they just didn't do anything. And
I think that's the biggest issue for most companies, that paralysis that happens. Maybe it's the fear of the change or that it might not work out and they're struggling along and they just want to keep struggling. They don't want to keep struggling, but they're stuck in that pattern,
Yeah. And so in the IT space, there's a couple of think tanks. One's called Gartner Group and one's called Forrester. And they both touched on that issue of the analysis paralysis and the cost of doing nothing and so on and so forth. And so the biggest decision that people have to make is just to take the first step. But please understand, there is a cost to doing nothing.
It's the opportunity cost. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But it seemed like even the packages that you're providing, all of that's reasonable. I mean, we've seen packages go as high as 50, 100. I watch Cody Sanchez on YouTube just like everybody else. But she's backed by a venture capitalist firm plus a private equity firm.
Hmm.
This is so reasonable. I mean, in terms of, let's say, the ordinary person just dropping in to say, you know what, give me some hand holding, help me with the process. That letter of intent is extremely huge. And if you don't understand the memorandum of understanding that goes behind that, I mean, just that document alone, that could cost you everything on the back half if you don't know what you're doing. So I'm glad to see that this thing is so affordable, man. I mean, even a one-time fee of the $2,500 as an ETA launch hub for what you're providing, I think that's extremely low, man.
Devaughn, I tell you, I really enjoy doing this stuff, and
Uh-huh.
I enjoy getting people to a spot where they're living in a place that they never thought they'd live.
Uh-huh.
And that's truly the thing that drives me with this. Now I'm going to say something that is is so contrary to a sales guy, okay?
Uh-huh.
And I've been a sales guy long enough that I understand the psychology and all the stuff behind it. But I would do the cohort for free
Uh-huh.
because we have a success fee, of course, when we get you over the table, and we've got an equity stake in the company. We'll grow all that stuff on the back end. I would do the cohort for free, but I know when you do things for free, people treat it like it's free,
They
and so
never
you
show
can't
up.
do it for free
Yeah.
because you can't. And so
When you don't pay, you don't pay attention.
exactly, and so the goal is for you to say, I've got something that I'm risking here, so
Hmm.
I'm a little sharper.
Hmm.
I pay more attention, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And so there has to be some skin in the game somewhere. And if you're not willing to pay this nominal fee to do it, then it's not for you at all.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of these programs that are going out there for 10 grand and all that kind of stuff right off the top. Because most consultants say, I'm not going to waste my time for anything less than 10 grand. My goal is to get you into this cohort because if we are in the cohort and you go through the materials and you understand, you're going to start learning some things about yourself.
Uh-huh.
One of the things that I've always not felt, one thing I've always known is entrepreneurship is a faith walk
Yep.
because the moment you step out on faith
Hmm.
and you don't have all those guardrails, of the corporate paycheck that's going to be here on the 1st and the 15th every single month.
Hmm.
When you step out on faith in entrepreneurship, you find out a whole lot about you.
Hmm.
You find out a whole lot about you. You find out how tough you are. You find out what kind of mindset you have. You find out what kind of grit and you know and stick to itiveness that you have. You find out a lot about yourself. Um, I had somebody explain to me one time that entrepreneurship was like standing in the middle of the road in a
Uh-huh.
thunderstorm and cars passing both ways, splashing water on you. And
Yeah.
it's just happening over and over and over again. You pull out your umbrella and the wind blows it inside out. And through all of that, the only thing you can see is the sunshine that's about to happen in about 2 hours
Yeah.
because you're focused on the prize.
Yeah.
You're not focused on all of the bad stuff that's happening. You're focused on the prize. And so I truly believe it's a faith walk. I think Teddy's got a question.
Go ahead, Teddy. Yeah.
My question was to you. I heard you say that you go every step of the way when somebody wants to buy into a business. And you also say that you're there to make sure that they secure their SBA loans and for the business, or if they're interested in getting a business. So when you buy into this program, is that a part of what you do when I see you have the drop on all of the launch and all of these different programs that you have? Is that a part of that as well? Is this training including all of that?
Yes, ma'am. So the vault, phase two up there, this is basically to do it yourself. This is I've got access to your materials and I'm going to take care of it. I just need some guidance here. The launch hub is we're your partner and we're riding shotgun with you the entire way through. Okay. And, you know,
And I
it's
see that
hard
it's
to.
split to 399 and 2500. So
Yes,
how's
ma'am.
that? Uh-huh.
Well, it's $399 a month, and it's for 12 months.
Okay.
Or you can pay $2,500 for a one-time payment. Um,
Oh,
yes, ma'am. Okay. And like I said, the goal is the ultimate goal is to get you a set of keys for your future. The goal isn't necessarily to sell the cohort. It's just the cohort is the methodology we use to get you to the spot where you're at the closing table and you feel good about the business you bought. The worst thing you can do is to buy a business and like, man, should I have really bought this? And I'm in it now. I'm struggling, and man, I think I bought a bad. No, that's not what we want to be. We
Uh-huh.
want you to get a business that's going to actually work.
Oh, beautiful, 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 beautiful. Now, I see most of this, especially Evolve, that's online, and the hands-on is the ETA Launch Hub. That's for the operator. What about the investor who just want to throw some money in the deal
That's
and
the
partner
drop
up?
in. That's the
Okay,
drop in. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay,
So we call those guarantors, and
okay.
so they might guarantor with a signature.
Uh-huh.
They might guarantor with some cash. And the
Okay.
reason that this spot exists is
Hmm.
I'll give you a quick scenario. So you've got John Doe and you've got Jane Doe.
Hmm.
And 5 years ago, they were married and they got divorced.
Hmm.
And some situation happened because life is always going to life. And all of a sudden, John Doe's credit score has got a ding on it.
Hmm.
And that ding is going to last him for 7 years. Now he's a very good operator. He's been a manager of XYZ Corporation for many years, and he's a very good potential operator. But because of that ding on his credit, he's not at the 680 credit score number that the SBA wants. He's at
Hmm.
595 for whatever reason. But he really wants to do this. He's even got the cash saved. Lo and behold, you bring a guarantor in, and a guarantor signs the paperwork that says, hey, I'll guarantee this loan with my signature. Okay. And they partner together and they make this thing happen. The flip side of that is Jane Doe doesn't have any issues on her credit. She's got a 700 credit score. She's
Hmm.
got a 740, 780. She just doesn't have the cash. And so the potential guarantor is the investor piece. He comes in and says, hey, look, you saw this business for $1 million. We structured it appropriately. The seller notes on full standby so we can come in with 5%. He writes the $50,000 check for her. She gets the business. They're in, they're doing well. And so that's what the guarantor is. He's either the signature or he's the investor type.
So what is if the guarantor signs? What kind of deal does the guarantor get?
So remember, you've got to own 80% of the company if you're the guarantor. You basically become the private equity guy. Okay. And
Okay.
so we can have it so, it'll start off like that. And then we've got, rules and regulations within inside the bank covenants that you got to participate in. And we also have rules and regulations inside the agreements your attorneys are going to go up with based on your sweat equity that you're working and doing and the business, whatever it is. You can store some of that equity in escrow that when that SBA loan is paid off, that equity flips because you're the one who actually built the company and worked it. Now that guarantor is going to be getting dividends and all that kind of stuff over the course of the loan, but we got to get that loan paid back. And when it's paid back, then the equity will reverse based on, legal bank covenants as well as the relationships. I mean, the contracts that we've signed with your attorneys on deal closing day.
Once that flip happens, does the guarantor maintain a percentage of the company?
It all depends on the negotiation of the contract.
Okay,
Yeah, all things are able to be discussed.
gotcha.
Normally, if you come in with the money, you control the deal.
Hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Because basically, 'cause at that point, you become the private equity guy.
Yeah.
Hmm. And you might say, hey, look, I've got enough cash that I can open up 3 or 4 of these things. And as long as I find a proper operator to run them for me, we're good to go. And if somebody comes to the table with a bunch of head knowledge, but they don't have any cash, but they get an opportunity to have an equity stake in the business, they're not going to turn that down
Right.
because they don't have any equity in their corporation. Any more questions, guys? I'm here for you.
It's extremely valuable. I like the hand-holding effect, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
A lot of us spend thousands of dollars to learn everything that you said here. And what's being provided here is, I haven't seen anything in the country like it. And I'm always searching. I think you got a unique proposition in terms of your placement in the marketplace. I like your background story also, Mr. Williams. I like the fact that you got 27 years of experience. I like the fact that you come from the software space as well, because right now, tech is everything.
Mhm.
Tech is running every component of business. And a lot of times we're buying tech just to test it out, to see.
Mhm.
We're not even sure of it, right? But at the end of the day, AI is changing the landscape every 3 to 6 months.
Yep, it definitely
Before
is.
time, it used to be every 3 years, every 4 years. Now it's just going crazy.
Yes, it is. And Devaughn, I tell you, the hand holding experience that I have is because I saw some things in my technology days of training that there was a patience that you had to have, because I've never been a coder. I took a couple coding classes in college and it was like, man, shoot me tomorrow, please. I can't do this. So I was always in the business of tech, training of the technology, understanding how the operation should be set up. How do you maximize, the potential business based on what you had, there for technology at auditing the tech and all that kind of stuff. So that was the world I lived in. And then, of course, selling the solutions. But I remember a long time ago, man, we were in Cullman, Alabama.
Mhm.
And this was back when we still had everybody had the desktops and all that. And we had to go show the staff how to use the computers.
Mhm.
They were all used to using the green screens. A lot of you guys aren't old enough to remember green screens. And
And
Oki
they're
data
coming back.
printer.
Green screen's coming back.
Yeah. And Oki data printers where the printer
Yeah.
head is going back and forth, so on and so forth.
Whoa, baby, you just showed your age there. Data. Yeah.
And lo and behold, I'm on the phone. I'm at system support on the phones one day, and I'm trying to walk this lady into setting up her computer. And I said, okay, ma'am, you got this thing. It's called a disk. And I need you to put it in this tray, because once you put it in a tray, there's going to be some things that's going to automatically fire up. And she's like, what tray are you talking about? And I'm like, how in the world do I explain? I was like, can you touch that button right there and push it? And she opened it up and she said, what tray? I'm like, what do you mean? Because, when the tray came out, what you put it in. She said, what, the coffee holder? I was like, OMG. And so I grew up with patience, training people how to, use systems. And, one lady, and it's an elderly lady, bless her heart. I mean, she thought her mouse was like the foot pedal on a sewing machine.
Yeah.
So when you grow up in business, having to have that kind of patience and understand some folks, it's not that they're dumb. It's not that they're idiots. It's not that at all. A lot of times it's the first time they've done it.
Yeah.
And when we did ERP implementations, the other piece that we really had to exude was this. And I had to explain this to a couple of owners of companies. I said, and I definitely had to explain it to my team. I said, guys, you guys understand something. A lot of people go through these ERP implementations once, maybe twice in their career.
Mm-hmm.
We do this stuff every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to understand that people don't just always understand. It's new to them. It's very new to them. You know, I had an owner who literally slowed a deal down for about 90 days. He should have already had a check in his hand. He slowed the deal down about 90 days. And I had to tell him, I'm like, hey, look, you're making this deal take way longer than it needs to be. And he looked at me and he said, Alonzo, I agree. He said, I'm just asking you to be patient with me because this is the first time I've done this.
Yeah.
He just needed to be assured that what he was doing was right. And so you kind of have to understand that. And so these programs that are out on the market, I don't doubt that they can find your deal flow, but it bothers me when the conversations are, we can get you a deal done in 30 days, and all that's garbage because the due diligence is going to take longer than that. And nobody's going to write you a check for something that you haven't done any diligence on. It just ain't going to happen. Okay.
True.
And so we want to do things decently and in order.
And that's excellent. Well, we're going to leave you with the last word, Mr. Williams. Anything that you feel as if you missed out on or you didn't say that you wanted to cover, anything in your space?
Well, number one, I'll give you guys a PDF of this deck so you'll have it. So
Excellent.
Devaughn, just make sure I've got everybody's email. I want you guys to be able to go back and look at it. Okay. Number two, you see QR codes next to each one of those boxes. So if this is something you want to participate in, just take a screenshot of it with your phone and you'll get a quote unquote invoice to get you started. Okay. But at the end of the day, this silver tsunami is real. Folks are getting out and they don't want to lose the equity in their business. And if their kids don't want them, they got to sell it. Okay. For a long time on business brokerage websites, statistics are, if 10 businesses go out for sale, maybe 3, maybe 4 of them would actually sell. But at this day and age, there's a ton of money that's tied up in equity. And these folks have built these companies and they plan on retiring on some of that equity. These businesses will get sold. The question is, are you going to be able to participate in this? Because there's probably about a 7-year window for most of this. And if you miss out on this 7-year window, you might live to regret it. Okay. And that's whether you're buying, whether you're investing, whether you're a guarantor for somebody else or not. But there's a very good buying opportunity here, and I would take full advantage of it if I could. Devaughn, I want to thank you for giving me access to your group. I want to thank you guys for being very attentive listeners. And anytime you got any questions, please know that I'm an open door.
And thank you so much,
very
Mr.
much.
Williams.
Yeah, thank you.
Checking with us, giving us all this information. Well, that's it for the class today. We will see you in the next one. And that's where the YouTube would end right there. But man, Williams, this thing was off the chain, man.
Well, I had fun, and I'm glad you gave me access to your group.
Man, this is a wonderful group. I think we'll have to have a couple of more sessions with you because we are looking for businesses to do mergers and acquisitions with. So
awesome.
So that's going to be right up your alley. And as we do them, I like the board position that you take. I like the fact that there's so much protection on that, just to make certain that the operator don't go too far overboard, whether they're in that 80% or in that under the 20% radar. I think there's a lot of value there because me personally, I don't want to spend one day in operations whatsoever. And the due diligence with the operator is extremely vital in order to launch any business. For me, I protect myself by getting my money out before the deal is even inked, because those are the only deals that we're going to do anyhow. So if that business go far left for whatever reason, that just becomes now a tax write-off for me. Or a recapitalization event, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, we say if you want to go fast, go by yourself.
Yeah.
You want to go far, go together. And so we
Yeah.
want to make sure that you've got the resources around you to make sure that you can get to where you want to go.
Teddy Ann, you heard that? Pastor Stewart,
I know you was going to say something.
you better believe it. Yeah,
I still taking you on the ninja. Don't worry. You got
man, for
experience.
God's sake.
You got
Yeah,
experience.
we have a little side joke in our trading group that, we can go fast, but it's going to cost you in terms of our health initiative. Because in order to trade and double money every 7 to 10 days, you're going to have to stay up about 4 days, 5 days straight in order to do that. And you're taking about 200 to 300 trades a day in order to accomplish that. And there again, you can do that by yourself. But what if you're doing it in a group?
Mm-hmm.
Now you can actually have a life. See, so it's the same concept.
Mm-hmm.
But I like doing it with the professionals on the ticket. So with that said, guys, any other things that you want to ask Mr. Williams off the record before we let him go?
No, it's just really great. Thanks, Alonzo. That was really great presentation.
Okay.
Alrighty, guys. Like I said, you'll get I'll send you guys a deck so you guys all have it, okay?
Yeah, I'll send you a copy of all the emails.
Perfect. You guys have a great day now.
And thank you for spending the time with us.
I'm off to my next presentation.
Good job, man.
Alrighty, guys.
Alrighty. Thanks. All right. So guys, that's the presentation. Oh, let me reclaim.
Yeah, you take it back so I can leave and not close it down.
Yeah, we normally forget and shut the whole thing down. That's happened a couple of times. All right, I've reclaimed. Yeah. So, what do you guys think?
Great.
It's a new world.
Okay.
It's another world.
Well, it is.
Good. Yeah, it's good.
It is. But Dr. Bob, when we talk to Breck,
Yeah.
that's that world.
Yeah.
That's that world for the doctors doing mergers and acquisition underneath the MSO. And because he has a venture capitalist right above him, they now can buy out all the medical practices with that particular valuation at a higher multiple. So they just need to stack 10 to 15 of them together. Now you have a multiple of a multiple that gives you an exit strategy. So that's why when he said no doctors are doing mergers and acquisition, I'm like, oh, hold on now, come back, say that again. Right?
Yeah.
So
there's a window of opportunity, right?
That's a window of opportunity.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of things he said too that we can merge with Jamila because there is someone that has the banking experience that can give us all of the information that we need to write those requisition and acquisitions as well to go into to the banks.
Yep. Yeah. Quite frankly, Jamelia was on last night sharing about the community credit advantages and having them as a partnership. That's simply part of your capital stack. So we use banks in our velocity banking mechanism so that we can always have access to capital to do something with, right? The money have to go somewhere. Where we put enough into our dividend portfolio that thing already replaced my wife's income. However, we can offshoot some of those revenues now into mergers and acquisition where we become the 10 or the 15% owner for other individuals to qualify for the SBA 7A. And as long as they qualify, we then bring all of our additional skill sets to the table in order to support that business through the life of the succession. And what I like as an investor in this space is we have learned how to get our 10% money back at the closing table before the deal is even inked. So, and that's a secret that most people won't tell you. But if we're able to do that, then I just minimize my risk to 0% as an investor in that business. So I don't have to worry if that business is going to make money over the next 3 years for me to have an exit. I already took an exit and retain the interest in the business from day one, right? And to me, if we can do 1,000 of those transactions, then it makes sense. However, some of the individuals that we're going to have to make that transaction with would probably have to go to Mr. Williams' program to understand exactly what they're getting themselves into. And Pastor Stewart, if you have someone in your congregation willing to do that program, I'm certain that I can talk to Mr. Williams about a discount in terms of them being in that space and funneling deals our way to where they get 10% out of the gate, off the gate when the deal closes.
Yeah.
Right? Meaning,
Good.
and what does that look like? If we can have someone that puts the deals together and all the pieces are in alignment, when we give the 100K, they get 10K out of that when we close at the SBA, and they get that from the working capital of the business. So
my question, what I was going to ask too, because a lot of time we look at deals or to buy business. What is an applicable business to venture in right now? What's going? What business are?
What's hot?
What's hot? Yeah.
no, you don't want what's hot. You want what's boring. That's what you want. He defined it in one of his earlier slides. He defined it as healthcare, anything in medicine related,
Yeah.
anything service related, such as professional services for the home and the HVACs in that space, IT, anything hands-on that we can't do without. Someone got to paint the house, someone got to clean the house, someone got to do the plumbing. AI ain't gonna take those things away.
And another thing too, because this is something that I particularly was not trying to get back into, but I know a lot of people have been calling me back for it, was event space and event planning.
Right.
AI can't do events.
No, AI can't do events.
So that is one of the things that I'm looking into, is trying to get a bigger event space, because a lot of AI can't arrange flowers. AI can't design a space. And so I am an event coordinator, and I do event spaces. And so that's one of the things that is, people always having birthday parties, always having graduations, always doing speaking engagements. And so if we get the type of event space I'm looking for, that we usually can't find a lot, is a massive one with everything in it, with the kitchen, with everything. So that's what I'm looking for, because the hotels are so costly.
Yep.
And so if we could get something like that, that's what I am looking into.
Do you have an operator in mind to operate that?
Yeah, I have, of course, I have people that is willing and ready to, I have people I worked with before, and I can set it up.
Let's see how we can package those deals together. Let them come and let's talk about it on Sunday after church. And let's see how to get it going. Because the process takes about 90 to 120 days to get funded.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it ain't gonna take that long, because the team is already built.
And I have people that needs the work, ready to work.
Yep. Well, I'm saying once you get one finance, it can do a couple of mergers and acquisitions into every space within the quadrant of every sector that we operate in. And all of the service paperwork, what he showed in his slide, is telling us where we need to be. Every last one of them. I mean, we know we need someone to cut the grass always. We know we need a painter. We know we need a construction person. We know we need an architect. We know, and guess what? We already carved that out in that very first meeting for the association.
Well, I know I have an architect. I know I have a construction worker.
They're there. Yeah, they're
So,
there.
yeah, I have that. Yes, yes.
Yeah, they're there. So that's the basis of everything else. That includes the accounting firms, that includes the legal firm, that includes, once you build a stack of them, you now have support for everything else you want to layer on top of that. Because now that support, now when you get an accounting firm, now they handle all the accounting and taxes for the whole infrastructure. When you get a legal firm, they handle all the legal work for the entire structure. You see how it crossbreeds?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you're building a home, you now get the property manager company now to manage that for you. And that's where you manage from a 30,000-foot view, only getting your reports coming to you versus you having to go out there at 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. Like that.
Yeah.
So I would say find the operator, try not to spend one day in operations, and also, it shouldn't be you cutting up the flowers just because you know how. And you could probably do it better than most, but the whole idea is to buy your time back so that you can have the freedom that you deserve and a check to go along with it every 30 to 60 days. That's how that works out. But you shouldn't be in there from morning to night, grinding it out like that. That's the whole reason why all of these things were set up in order to do that. And I keep saying that, and he mentioned it also, Mr. Williams. He mentioned that sometimes you need a gray hair fox on your board, right?
Yeah.
Carol is married to a banker who is retired.
Yes.
Ding, 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 ding. I told him he needed to come out of retirement and take a board seat.
I told him. I spoke with them the other day. I told him that. Yeah.
Yeah. You see, because now all of his experience is going to be extremely valuable for any and everything that's done in this space. And the goal is, if we're making money in this trading space and this investment space, after you get to so much money and you do have a surplus running over, what you're going to do with the rest of the money, right? You still have to constantly build out your structures to invest almost as a support mechanism to why you got in this space in the first place. Yeah. And you have to constantly diversify. Now, does that mean you're going to drop a couple of eggs along the way? Yep. But try to minimize those egg dropping, you're only going to drop eggs if you're doing it by yourself. Yeah. Right? And he mentioned that, Mr. Williams mentioned the solution. Let's do it in a group. No person in here should be a lone wolf to say, you know what? I'm going to buy this $4 million project and I'm going to take that on by myself, right? You're looking to kill yourself, right? And I mean that literally too, right? We're looking at deals all the time in the medical space. I'm looking at a $4 million deal right now. That's not for me, one, to take down. Oh, no. That's for me to simply find the deal, package the deal, probably take a small stake in it, and have that on to the specialists who want to run that business, who want to be in that business. My goal is not to play in that space forever, but the amount of sweat that they're going to have to put into that business to make that business an 8 million, a 16 million, I ain't got that kind of time nor that energy, right? So the goal is that no matter what we're doing in this space, whether it's multifamily, whether it's property management, no matter what it is, the goal is to constantly do mergers and acquisitions in order to increase the valuation of that business. And once you stack 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 together, Let's say you have $1 million business and you think that's $10 million. Nope. The valuation is a 4x to a 5x valuation. That 10 million that you stack, that could actually be valued at anywhere between 50 and 75 million. Right? And that's where the special evaluators come into play as it relates to that. And every last one of us on this call could actually take advantage of those opportunities, but we can't take advantage of it, number one, if we ain't looking for it. So now, as long as we can flow these deal flows upward to take advantage of the deal, the goal is to get equity. Equity. All right. So, well, we were glad to have Mr. Williams on the call. And I think we're at about 11 o'clock right now, and it's a Tuesday. Dr. Bob, you want to share your screen to let's see what the portfolio looks like now that we had that downturn and we are hedged. All right, I see it. There you go.
Okay, share screen.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go like this, like that. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to see if I'm in the right one here.
Okay.
537.
I'll just bring up. Yeah, I think that's the right one. You're at margin at 0 in display 8, and you're at 642.
Yeah. Okay. And let me just bring up the toolbox.
Okay. Excellent. 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 All right. Scroll down all the way to the bottom. Yesterday, we gave an exercise as to what a hedge looks like. This is what a hedge look like. If you're looking at this, balance is $996.16 to the bottom left. His equity is $642, and it's fluctuating. And his loss is negative $354, between $354 and $353. And what he did was he took a position on the opposite side of the holding positions that he was holding that were open. So if he had, I think, go to display 8 for me.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me just, I just want to give them in alphabetical order. So you can see here three buys on AUD CAD. And so what we did was we put on 3 cells to balance it out, hedge it. And we did that for every pair. So every set has an equal number of buys and sells, which gives us the margin number of 0. Mm-hmm. So let me go back here. Let me get rid of this market. View, toolbox. Okay, and then we're going to go back here to, there we go.
Okay. Display 8 is going to give us everything that we need, right? Meaning we're holding a position. Right now, the markets are temperate and they're in the land of the decision. And it's our job to simply wait this thing out. But one of the questions that Dr. Bob and I talked about in one of our ending portions of the class was, when do you tip your toe back in? Well, that $353 and change, that's a loss to the bottom. That's going to remain. What's not going to remain?
It's going to remain, and it's going to remain all except because the account is fully hedged. There's 48 longs and 48 shorts, so that number won't change. It's not going to go anywhere, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So all we did was slow the bleeding of the accounts down, and we stopped it, right? So that's what the hedge did for us. So whilst the market was going haywire on Friday, on Monday, trying to find itself on Tuesday, in this land of not making a decision, we decided that this particular test that Dr. Bob is doing, we're going to hedge this one and see when do we start to dip our toe back into the market. Is going to be when the longs and short The minute we start to see any one of those in profits, that's going to be the time that we start to replant the seed so that we can actually, give me a minute, we can actually start replanting the seed so that we can start the incline in our trend. And once that occurs, we will then take off the hedge slowly. So what we put on, we're going to take off.
So when these all three are red, we're sitting on hands basically, just
Sitting on
waiting.
hands.
When one of these goes blue or green, depending on the color you chose, that's indication that we can start slowly unhedging, if that's a word.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep, that's it. So we're waiting until we see some green in that long and short metrics before we start accumulating a position again. Will that take a week? Will that take a week and a half? Will that take 2 weeks? Who knows? But we're protecting the account all through that journey.
Yeah,
Now,
if we didn't hedge, we might have crashed this account, actually.
no, you would have been fine.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah, because it's mimicking all the other ones that we have also. And my
True.
accounts have been open for the whole entire time, and I've only been risking 10%.
Right.
So
Right.
we went as high as 50 to 60% in drawdown. And then now I'm starting to see a recovery now where the numbers are starting to go back up to where they were. So keep your fingers and toes crossed. Hopefully it continues. But if it doesn't, my threshold for my hedge would be somewhere between 70 and 80%. So everybody have to have a certain percentage for where their thresholds lie. And that now dictates what the mechanics look like for your system.
In my live account, which I started out at 1,000, and I started out at 1,000, and then I captured about almost $100 to get it up to close to $1,200. And then that's down almost $400. So but my equity is still a little over 800 because it's holding. I mean, it's not going anywhere because I captured that $100. That made a difference for sure. Captured $100 profit and then repositioned, put new positions on.
Oh, perfect. Now, this is something that you guys have to see and experience for yourself, because at the end of the day, this is extremely a complex exercise of that rebounding out of negativity into profitability. So and we're doing it slowly enough in these exercises so that when you start what we say, the ninja bike effect, you now would understand exactly the mechanics, because the mechanics in the ninja bike is similar to what we're doing here. It's just that this is done in a portfolio and the ninja bike is done pretty predominantly in a one market place with our finger on the trigger a lot of times. So a lot of times we're taking 250, 300 positions a day in order to be extremely profitable. And that a lot of times with that, depending on what we're doing, we don't hold an overnight sometimes in those spaces. So we're constantly rebuilding on a daily basis. Technically, you're building a daily position in a market that you can extract profits off on a daily basis. So whether that's you're spending 4 hours in the market or 12 hours in the market, that now dictates how and how many positions you put on the table and your comfort zone. But you got to understand this first before you want to go fast.
This is my live account, and I just wanted to ask you this spread number. What does that mean?
The spread number is the number between the bid and the ask.
On this particular pair?
No. Yeah, on this particular pair.
Okay, so if I call
that spread is only for GBP CHF. That's not for the portfolio.
So if I brought up a different pair, it might have a different spread number.
It would.
Now, if the spread number is like 25, does that mean, does that indicate like a lot of volatility in that pair?
No, spread number at 35 is not bad. You will see that spread number go in red when it's a volatile time frame. So between that 5 and 6 o'clock time frame at night, that spread is going to go to like $20 and some cent, like that. That's an extremely large spread. So you want your spread to be somewhere between 20 cents and, let's say, $2. Between 20 cents and $2 is a very, very good spread.
And what if it's like 5 and 6 right now, like it's looking like 4,
5
5,
and
6?
6, 5 and 6 right now. Right now it's all white right now. So you're good. It's when it turns red. You'll see a red number
Yeah.
in that spot.
Okay. And what does that mean when it goes red? It's
That means the spread is too large. That's not a good time to trade.
okay.
Because if the bid and the ask are spread so wide, whenever you buy or sell, you're buying at the opposite end of that spread. So you're in a loss before you even start.
Oh, is that why every time you put a place a position that it goes initially just negative by a little bit?
It can be, right?
I've almost
But
never seen
it
one go
goes
positive.
it goes really negative between 5 and 6 o'clock if you hit that button.
I see. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. How long does it take to settle down after the 6 p.m.? Does it take?
Oh, immediately. After 6:01, it kind of sort of settles in. You wait till 5 minutes mostly, and the
Okay.
market settles right back down.
My last question for today is, I think, anyway. I'm hoping you can explain today range.
What a joke.
Yesterday.
What a joke.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you. I'm available to be given a hard time from you guys. It's fine. Could you explain total range, yesterday range, this week range, last week range, this month range, and all in blue
Sure.
here in the middle? Okay.
All of those blue relate to only GBP chef.
Right here. Okay.
Right. So right now, the daily range, right now in terms of the pip, in terms of the highest point to the lowest point, it's now at 51.2 pips.
Where is that shown here on this on the channel?
We're in the 12 hours. So that's the last two candlesticks.
Over here, way over here.
Yep. Uh-huh.
I'm gonna
So
go like this.
if you compress,
yeah, like this.
yeah. Okay,
Right
and zoom
here.
in.
Right here, okay.
Yep, zoom in. The very last two candlesticks, from bottom to top, that equates to about 51.2 pips.
Why do you say the last two?
Because it's a 24-hour range. That's today's range.
Today's range, 24, 12, 12. Gotcha.
Yeah. So yesterday's range, if you look at the prior two, that was on average 78.3 pips. From
And it
top
doesn't,
to
it doesn't differentiate between positive and negative.
no, it doesn't.
Okay.
At this week, we already did 111 pips, and last week we did 150 pips.
So this week is like 1, 2, 3,
So
4,
this week,
5, 6, 7.
but right now is only Tuesday,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
right? So technically speaking, we can say to ourselves that maybe when we get to 100, I mean, there are all type of numbers that come up in this skew to tell us something different about what's happening within the zones of our candlesticks. There's something called average true range, right? What that tells, or the concept is this, and this is what they use these numbers for. If I'm trading in a particular direction, and I know yesterday's range was 78.3, and let's say everything is consistent, chances are if I'm in a position for this particular market, I technically have 50, 60, 70, close to 27 more pips that I can hold my position for in order to take profit if everything stays consistent.
Wow,
You're going to do that very same argument for the week as well as the month range. Now, the funny thing is, the month range, we're only 9 days in and we already did 194 pips. But last month, we did only 174 pips.
For the whole month.
Yep. So that's now the volume of what transpired over that duration of time.
For this pair.
For this pair, yeah. This pair and this pair only.
I see.
Uh-huh.
What do you take away from the month range that it's going? There's so much more volume in this 9 days or whatever it is of this month.
Oh, it doesn't matter to me. That's why we look at the 12-hour and look at the channel.
Okay.
This doesn't have any bearing for me.
So it's irrelevant. Okay.
Yeah, I don't use it. It doesn't mean that it can't be used. It's just that it's not in our calculation or in our process.
Okay. What's the next candle?
The next candle, you're looking at 12 hours. You're 3 hours and 1 minute away from the change.
Gotcha. So if I change this view to H4,
yeah,
would that change everything down below? Yeah.
It should.
Yeah. The next candle is, yeah.
No, those numbers stay the same. As your next candle number changes to now 6 hours and 52 minutes.
Even though I'm on the 4-hour window, then the candle should be 4 hours, right?
Yeah. Let's see, 4 hours. Yeah. But scroll to the right. Let's see if the candle we got.
How do I scroll to the right?
Oh, compress it.
Oh, compress. Here we go. Like this way? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Your next candle up here is 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 27 seconds.
Where do you see that time? I see the 1 hour. Well,
Top right. It's moving along the candle line. You see it says 1:44, 16.
Oh, yeah, I got you. Okay, got you. Yeah. Okay. I see.
Yeah.
So what's this one down here? It doesn't matter.
That one, that's supposed to be the next candle, but I don't know what that's saying. It's supposed to be a 4-hour candle, but
I see. Okay. That's no problem. All right. Hold it.
That's where we added the blah tech candle timer for one of the indicators that we look at.
We added which one? Sorry.
Oh, the blah tech candle timer indicator.
Okay.
And we were in the beginning loading up the indicators.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get out of here. This is my live account. I'm on the IBM PC on the PC. So I want to get out of this. I don't want to do it.
Looking good. Yeah.
Well, down 362, it'd be nice when it starts coming back. It'll be really great,
Yeah, you got to wait.
Got to wait it out. Well, I can do that for sure. Let me just hop out of this account so I don't have to do anything. I don't do anything to it.
Okay.
I just wanted to take a look at it. Okay. All right. That's good.
All right. So we're going to end class there today. We'll have the recording posted. We'll have today recording and last night posted in our Telegram. We started archiving yesterday's class in the Telegram. So you can actually download that and watch that if you missed it. And we'll have these two uploaded probably by 2:00 today.
Fantastic. Thank you. Good to be with everybody who's still on, and see you guys soon. Take care, Dr. D.
See you guys soon. You guys.